Imagine standing on a beach in South America. No compass, no GPS, no map. Just open ocean in front of you, thousands of miles of it, and nothing on the other side you've ever seen. Now, imagine not just surviving that crossing, but doing it deliberately, navigating it, and making it back. Sounds impossible, right? But here's what shocked me. Scientists now have the DNA evidence to prove it actually happened centuries before Columbus ever touched this hemisphere. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will completely rewrite what you thought you knew about ancient human capability, ocean navigation, and the real story of the Pacific. Let's go back to the way we were all taught history. You'd probably learned some version of this. Ancient peoples were isolated from each other by geography. The Americas were sealed off from Asia, from Polynesia, from the wider world, until European explorers discovered them and opened up global contact. That narrative has one enormous problem. It disagrees with it. Not slightly, not ambiguously, directly, specifically, and scientifically. And what I find fascinating, genuinely fascinating, is that this isn't a fringe theory anymore. It's not someone on the internet connecting dots that shouldn't be connected. This is published genetics research. This is radiocarbon-dated archaeology. This is comparative botany. Three completely separate scientific disciplines working independently of each other, all pointing at the exact same conclusion. Ancient people crossed the Pacific Ocean and back, using nothing but the stars, the waves, and an understanding of ocean currents that most modern sailors couldn't replicate today. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. We almost completely missed it. So let me take you through the evidence the way I approached it, one layer at a time, because each layer is extraordinary on its own, and when you put them together, the picture becomes impossible to dismiss. The first layer is genetics, and this is where the story starts to feel almost surreal. In 2020, a landmark study was published in the journal Nature, one of the most rigorously peer-reviewed scientific publications on the planet. The researchers performed a genomic analysis, meaning they sequenced and compared actual DNA across populations in Polynesian and indigenous communities along the Pacific coast of South America. What they found was direct genetic admixture. That's the scientific term for two separate human populations interbreeding, sharing DNA in a way that leaves measurable, traceable markers across generations. And this admixture wasn't recent. It wasn't from the colonial era, when European ships were crisscrossing the Pacific and introducing contact between previously isolated peoples. The genetic signal traces back to approximately 1150 to 1230 CE, roughly 800 years ago, centuries before any European presence in the Pacific. Think about that for a second. The DNA of people living in Polynesia carries genetic markers from South American indigenous populations, and that shared ancestry dates to a window in time when the only way to travel between those two places was by ocean, with no modern technology whatsoever. You might be wondering, couldn't there be another explanation? Could there be contamination in the samples? Could the dating be off? Researchers anticipated exactly those questions. The study was designed to control for those variables. Multiple independent population groups across Polynesia showed the same signal. The statistical confidence was not marginal, it was overwhelming. The conclusion in the paper itself: there was direct contact between native South Americans and Polynesians around 1200 CE, predating European exploration of the Pacific by roughly 300 years. 300 years. That's not a rounding error. That's not a footnote. That is a completely different version of history. But the genetics alone, extraordinary as they are, don't tell us the direction of the crossing. Did Polynesians sail east to South America? Did South Americans sail west to Polynesia?
Or, and this is where it gets genuinely wild, did both happen? And this is where the second layer of evidence becomes critical. Because if people physically traveled between these two worlds, they would have brought things with them. Animals, seeds, crops. And that's exactly what researchers found. Let me tell you about a chicken. I know that sounds like the setup to a joke, but stay with me. This chicken matters more than you would expect. At an archaeological site called El Arenal in Chile, researchers excavating a pre-Columbian layer, meaning a layer that predates any European arrival, found chicken bones. Now, chickens are not native to the Americas. They're not a species that evolved in South America. Every chicken you've ever encountered in the Americas arrived there somehow from somewhere else. The standard assumption was Europeans brought them. But here's the problem with that assumption. Radiocarbon dating placed those chicken bones at 1304 to 1424 CE. The earliest confirmed European contact with South America was 1498 CE, Christopher Columbus's third voyage. These chickens arrived in Chile at least 74 years before any European ship did. And the outer end of that radiocarbon range pushes that gap to nearly 200 years. That's already remarkable. But the researchers didn't stop at the dating. They also extracted and analyzed the ancient DNA from those bones and compared it against known genetic profiles of chicken populations worldwide. The result? Those Chilean chickens were genetically linked to Polynesian chickens, not European domesticated breeds. Think about what that means. Someone brought those chickens to South America before any European arrived, and they got to Chile somehow. The chicken bones alone are an extraordinary piece of evidence, but they're not the most stunning piece. That distinction belongs to a plant, specifically the sweet potato, Ipomoa batatas. The sweet potato is unambiguously South American in origin. It evolved in the Andes, and yet, before any European set foot in Polynesia, the sweet potato was already there. Not in one location, not in one island group. Across the entire Polynesian triangle, from Hawaii in the north to New Zealand in the south to Easter Island in the east, the sweet potato was a staple crop. The earliest archaeological evidence of sweet potato in Polynesia predates European contact significantly. Some findings from the Cook Islands push the presence of sweet potato back to approximately 1100 to 1150 CE. There is no way for a South American plant to appear across the entire Polynesian island chain by natural drift. This was not an accident of nature. Someone carried it there.
But here's where I want you to slow down with me for a second. The Quechua-speaking peoples of South America had a word for the sweet potato. That word was kumar. The Polynesian word, kumara. Nearly identical across thousands of miles of open ocean. A plant that originated in South America, a name that sounds almost identical in two distant cultures. Coincidence? Linguists treat that kind of similarity as a strong indicator of direct cultural transmission, not parallel evolution, not coincidence, direct contact. Now here's where it gets undeniable. We have three independent lines of evidence all saying the same thing. DNA, chickens, sweet potatoes. Any one of these findings is extraordinary. Two together is difficult to dismiss. All three together? That is convergent evidence. And in science, convergent evidence from independent sources is the closest thing to certainty we get. So the contact happened. The data makes that clear. The question that should take your breath away is, how? Let me put the Pacific Ocean in perspective for you. The Pacific is the largest geographic feature on Earth. It covers more than 60 million square miles. At its widest point, it stretches nearly 12,000 miles. Ancient Polynesians didn't have engines. They didn't have GPS. What they had was something arguably more impressive. They had wayfinding. A system so precise, modern researchers are still trying to fully understand it.
They read stars, they read ocean swells, they read birds, they read clouds. Even in total darkness, even under cloud cover, they could maintain direction across thousands of miles. This is not mythology. This is empirical science, and modern reconstructions have proven it works. So when someone says ancient people couldn't cross the Pacific, the evidence says they did. Now this raises a question. If they were this capable, why don't the history books say so? The answer is uncomfortable. History has bias. For a long time, it assumed advanced navigation belonged to Europeans, but the evidence tells a different story. Ancient humans were not less intelligent. They were operating with different tools, not lesser minds. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The genetic evidence points to specific regions, the Marquesas Islands and Easter Island, as key contact zones. Easter Island sits about 2,300 miles from South America. Not easy, but not impossible. For Polynesian navigators, not even their most ambitious journey. And then there's one more mystery. Easter Island holds a script, Rongo Rongo, that no one has fully deciphered. We don't know what it says. And now, we know that region was part of real trans-Pacific contact 800 years ago. What was recorded there? We genuinely don't know. Let me bring this together. 3 scientific disciplines, genetics, zoology, and botany, all confirm the same event, direct contact between Polynesians and South Americans, 800 years before Europeans arrived. This was not luck. This was not myth. This was skill. This was knowledge. This was human ambition. And this is where the weight of the story lands. We keep underestimating ancient humans. We assume limitation, and then evidence shows up and proves us wrong, again and again. So here's the question I want to leave you with. If we got this so wrong, what else are we missing? What other connections are still buried? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed how you think about history, hit like. Subscribe to Obscura Files. I'm glad you're here. The truth was always buried. Let's keep digging.